So let's widen our coverage analysis of today's monetary policy rate decision and the outlook from the private sector. My guest on that is Dr. Muda Yusuf, a trade professional and a former Director General at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Dr. Yusuf is also the founder and CEO of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. We thank you for coming on the RS Exchange tonight, Dr. Yusuf.
Thank you very much, boss.
We appreciate for being there for us. Thank you so much. Give me your take. Do you agree with the MPC decisions to hold the key lending rate and all other parameters at their current levels?
Well, I agree with the MPC. I think it's about time we had this kind of pause because the private sector have been going through very, very serious challenges throughout this regime of monetary policy tightening. It has become very, very difficult for businesses to finance their operations with bank credits. It's even worse for those who are already stuck with facilities with the banks. Because if you are running a business and you are paying interest rates of between 30 to 40%, that is suffocating by any standard. So it's a bit of a relief, but for people like us, we even expect to see the beginning of the loosening, the relaxation of the tightening regime. Because we now have a situation where MPR at 27.5 is higher than the inflation rate. So I think at this point we should begin to relax some of these tightening conditions because it is increasingly disconnecting the business community from the banking system. It's also negating the whole idea of financial inclusion. I mean, I don't know how many businesses you can fund sustainably at the current interest rates. So I think we need to begin to roll back some of these tightening measures. Okay, there's no country in the world that has a CRR of 50%. You know, it's the highest anywhere in the world. I don't think our situation is as bad as that.
How soon do you think the central bank or the monetary policy should start rolling back? Now we have a hold. Do you think the central bank has reached a situation is about to take his feet off the pedal, as it were, completely and begin to slow down? Or cut, does it?
Of course. I mean, any time from the next MPC meeting, we should begin to roll back some of these things. It's extremely very, very, very burdensome, very excruciating for businesses. You know, I checked the data, there's no country where you have a CRR of 50%. The closest to what we have in Nigeria is in Turkey and Brazil. And what they have there is 25%. Our MPR is also one of the highest in the world. And it is the private sector investors that are paying the price for this. And this liquidity issue and money supply issue is not generated from credit. It's not a credit-generated or credit-driven liquidity.
Where is that coming from?
So that is a major challenge for businesses.
Where is the liquidity coming from, and how do you think this could be tackled?
It's coming from the fiscal side. It's coming from fiscal deficit, borrowing, and all of these things. That is where it is, and the spending. And the nature of the spending. That is why it's not coming from credit. How many businesses can take credit at 40%, at 35%? That is not where it's coming from. And it's even worse because some people have taken facility 2, 3, 4 years ago when the interest rate was just about 20%, 18%. Now they are paying at 35%. I mean, that is very, very burdensome on businesses. And we need to see a lot more in terms of the development finance window. We need to expand that window so that investors in the real economy can have a window through which they can possibly even refinance this very expensive facility. Because we need growth, we need to create jobs. And now we are beginning to see a leeway to do that. And I think the earlier we do it, the better.
So we saw a rebasing, Dr. Yusuf, we saw a rebasing to 24.48% for on a headline inflation. The central bank today says it's targeting a single interest rate regime. What are your thoughts? Is that likely to happen anytime soon, at least perhaps within the next one calendar year period?
No. Single digit inflation or interest rates.
Inflation.
No, single-digit inflation is not realistic at this time. I think the best you can have around inflation is anywhere between 17 to 25, going forward, at least even up to the end of the year. But what is important is that there's only so much that the monetary policy can do. We have practically exhausted monetary policy instruments. What we are having is almost an overdose of these instruments. So we need to begin to look at how we can reduce our deficits, reduce our exposure to debt, both domestic and foreign, so that we can also do a lot more in the area of fiscal consolidation, so that we have more revenue to be able to calm down the impact of the fiscal side on the macroeconomic situation. I think that is what should happen.
Do you think the economy is beginning to turn the corner with the stability around the exchange rate, petrol prices stabilizing, still some gentle reduction, the PMI reading about 50.2 for January according to central bank data? Do you think if the economy is stabilizing, the private sector enterprise could begin to have some measure of confidence moving forward into the rest of the year?
Of course, yes. I agree with that position. At least we have been seeing this stability now for the past 6 months or so, and it has been sustained. I mean, that gives a lot of confidence. And we are beginning to see some positive outlook with energy prices. And it's also likely to even get better by the time we have an improvement in the geopolitical situation, especially between Russia and Ukraine. We are making to make progress with that. We are likely to see a much lower global inflation, which can even impact food inflation and energy prices. So the outlook is positive, and the oil production output too is looking good. At least according to the CBN, we did about 1.5 million barrels per day until recently. So the outlook is good, and it's quite inspiring. It's giving a boost to confidence, but we need to create a much better credit condition for the private sector. We need to do something about it. The current credit situation is not supporting growth. It's not supporting entrepreneurship. Private sector credit as a percentage of GDP in Nigeria is one of the lowest. It's about 30%. In South Africa, it's about 92%. In other advanced economies like China and US, it's close to 200%. So that shows the extent of disconnection between the banking system and the private sector, particularly the real sector, and more importantly, the SMEs. So we need to find a way to close the gap, and we need to interrogate some of these classical positions of driving interest rate high in order to tame inflation. I think we need to begin to interrogate it.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We appreciate that, as always, those very robust analysis and perspectives. So Muda Yusuf, founder and CEO at the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thank you. Wish you a pleasant evening.